In Chatelet, my dudes, and welcome to the Polecat cast number 111, where our stealthy polecats ferret out the best feels, funnies, and what the fucks to discuss Slam Bam Badger style. Buckle up, buckaroos, try to secure your sides, and mind your spines. Also, maybe don't eat anything beforehand, and make sure that the bleach is locked up tight. Today's Polecat panel consists of the big half of Big and Robot, Scott, the silverback self-aware simian, Max Darrett, Simpsons kin, and definitely not a banana with maracas that might be singing, "It's peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time."
Where yet?
There you go, there you go, there you go. Peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly with the babes all wet. Okay, Polecat Punster and Pussycat Punisher Hannah, Dr. Randomcam, Panda, Puppet Master, and Long Range Rhetorician, and me, your host.
She packed my bags last night, pre-flight.
The Doge in charge. That's
0
me.
hour, 9 a.m.
Today we'll be discussing the following topics. A feminist teacher, using her vagina's own voice, talks about a recent experience wherein she had to relive a rape because one of her white male students wrote a paper criticizing the feminist theory of rape culture. Why do they let these people out of the fucking house? While we're out here... I mean, this is an adult! An adult! Okay. While we're out here...
Allegedly.
Yeah. While we're out here criticizing feminist theories, William Shatner of T.J. Hooker, Priceline, and the Transform Man fame admitted his rendition of Rocket Man sounds like an angel having an orgasm, has found himself in some trouble with the Borg, as Shatner makes a controversial statement. Toxic masculinity as a concept is rooted in misandry, and misandry exists. Cue the fight music, which I already did. New Hampshire Representative Robert Fisher triggers feminists, calls out fake news, advocates for men's rights, and says edgy shit on the internet. So how does the Boston Globe respond? By getting triggered, posting fake news, dismissing men's issues as valid, and acting like someone's overprotective mother on the internet. A study conducted by New Zealand University, yes, there are more than just hobbits in New Zealand, seems to suggest that children who are free to engage in less supervised play are also less likely to be dependent on supervisors. Is there anything more to this story, though? In addition, the Tekken 7 game will be coming out very soon, later this year, and it appears that the fighting kangaroo, Roger Jr., has been taken out by animal rights activists, because that's what we really wanted in our games. Alright, well, so that's basically it for the show. Oh, wait, no, there's actually one more thing. One little story about how, supposedly, Anita Sarkeesian's dad donated to Donald Trump's fund, which may be a bit of a clue in as to where all of her rage and anger comes from. Daddy issues, feminists? What a shocker. Alright, so, before we get into the first story, I also probably want to tell you guys about the after show. If your only point of reference to a film about the UK comic book character Judge Dredd is to look at a 90s Hoke Fest starring Sylvester Stallone, while I can't admit it has a certain so bad it's good quality about it, you, my friend, are missing out, as a more recent adaptation of the comic starring Carl Urban and Lena Headey shows that Dredd can be totally fucking badass, even on a budget. The movie is so badass, however, that a feminist is trying to find a way to co-opt it by writing an article literally no one asked for ever called 5 Reasons Dredd is Secretly One of the Greatest Feminist Films of the Decade. No, bitch. It's not one of the 5 best feminist films. It's just one of the best films of the decade. But what case does she flimsily try to make in a desperate attempt to make feminism in film valid despite previous attempts to make feminist-centered films Ghostbusters? Anyway, if you would like to participate in our after shows either as an audience member or a participant, please consider becoming a patron at www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio. Max, tell us a little bit about rape culture.
Yeah, listen up, everybody. Let me ask you a question. What is the difference between being raped and reading a paper on rape? It's not a trick question. It's actually an easy question with an easy answer. The answer, of course, being that there is a lot of differences between the two. Anyways, an essay recently went viral after it was published at InsideHigherEducation.com. The essay was titled as follows: Surviving Rape Apologists in the Classroom. Apparently, the anonymous writer of this essay is a feminist teacher who recently had to deal with one of her students submitting a paper that criticized the term rape culture. Now, before you ask, I'll just answer affirmatively. Yes, the feminist teacher compared reading the student's denial of rape culture to being raped all over again. No, seriously. Quote, as I went over his paper, I realized that I was reading a paper that sounded word for word like something the man who raped me would say. And not only did this sound like something my rapist would say, this student fit the same demographic profile as him. White, college male, between the ages of 18 and 22. The quote goes on, although I knew it was unlikely that the student would literally try to rape me, his words felt so familiar that I began having trouble distinguishing him from the man that did. The words were so frighteningly similar that the rational instructor side of my brain could not overpower the trauma survivor side. End quote. Look, here at Honey Badger Radio, we wish to offer our deepest condolences and sympathies to those who have suffered the trauma associated with the act of rape. Obviously, especially to the woman who penned this article, and we hope that she is either in the process of attaining or has received the appropriate help necessary in order to cope with the stress that this event has caused her. Now, with that out of the way, rape culture is still a load of bullshit, and you should be ashamed for teaching kids that they are more likely to be raped than the populations of third world nations. Moreover, rape is not that hard to define, so excuse me for being a little bit perturbed when you teach about rape culture and then write about what follows afterwards in your essay. Quote, sometimes we encounter students who realize that they have been raped, who come to office hours looking for resources. My fellow honey badgers, save me from myself.
I'd just like to say I don't think she has received the appropriate help necessary in order to cope with the stress, because if she has indeed been abused, then she appears to have already turned into an abuser. Would you call this abuse?
Yeah,
I'd say this is abusing her students.
Mike.com has outed William Shatner as a heretic for believing in a concept favored by men's rights activists. And we all know men's rights activists are inherently invalid inherently, excuse me. William Shatner tweeted, feminism is great, but terms like toxic masculinity are degrading. It borders on the imaginary concept to feminist misandry. A feminist writer, Mary Bree, replied, yeah, we'll go with that. Why not? Sounds about right. Misandry is about as real as Klingons, Bill, to which he retweeted, you can say that about misandry all you want, but it exists. Continuing the battle, Bree responded, misandry is a systemic violence that kills and oppresses women. Misandry is a myth derived from men's hurt feelings. Hashtag masculinity so fragile. In addition, she added, we are the feminist Borg. Your sociological and ideological distinctiveness will be added to our own. Resistance is futile. We may have belied about that last part just a little bit.
But not much.
But not much. Not far off. It ain't far off, baby. Shatner replies, you just keep believing it doesn't exist and keep on hating men. I'm sure it makes you sleep better at night. Mike.com reports that misandry, according to men's rights activists, is feminist response to misogyny and is rooted in women's desire to oppress men and trample their autonomy. A reverse discrimination that has been debunked, but it hasn't stopped people like Shatner from believing in it. Just sad.
It is just as real. Misandry is just as real as Klingon, because they're both courses you can study at university.
Tekken to be Kanga-Ruined.
That's a great title.
I
love it.
Animal rights activists, let me get the right thing on the screen here. Animal rights activist groups such as PETA enjoy messing with video games. They mess with everybody. Developers of games such as Call of Duty and Farming Simulator have faced controversy from such groups for depicting animals being either hurt or killed within their titles. The soon-to-be-released Tekken 7 seems to be the latest to join this list, with series producer Katsuhiro Harada announcing that Roger Jr., the boxing kangaroo, will not be in the game. News of this comes after Harada was quoted at a recent Tekken 7 press event as saying, there was a video of a man's dog being headlocked by a kangaroo, and he punched it in the face. It turned into a big problem. I thought it was fucking awesome. People were complaining about him punching a kangaroo. It seems that in the last few years, there's a lot more animal activists. Even though they probably wouldn't play our game, they would still hear about a kangaroo in our game getting punched, and would complain about it. While this statement seems very definitive, Some doubt the authenticity of Harada himself. When questioned further on the subject on his Twitter account, Harada responded with some confusing statements. He referred to the characters of Roger Jr. and Alex, which is a boxing velociraptor, as weapons, and stated that there is no problem. This is believed to be a reference to the Tekken lore, in which the two mentioned characters are not really animals, but biologically engineered weapons, and are therefore not technically animals, so their inclusion in the game would not be a problem. I find it funny that you even have to say that, considering they're not animals either. They are pixels on a fucking screen, but we will just carry on. There is also Harada's past statements to consider. During the minor controversy over the upcoming Tekken 7 character Lucky Chloe, Harada had tweeted out that the character would be replaced with a different one and would stay exclusive to East Asian and European audiences only. It was later revealed that Harada was simply joking and didn't expect anyone to take any of his tweets seriously. So where does this leave the fate of Roger Jr., the boxing kangaroo? It's hard to say at the moment. Between Harada's initial statements and his history of trolling, it's unclear if anything he says is the truth regarding this subject. We may just have to wait until the game launches on June 1st to see for ourselves. New Hampshire legislator runs Reddit, advocates men's right.
Oh my.
The Daily Beast has found that New Hampshire State Representative Robert Fisher is behind the creation of the Red Pill Reddit. Many news outlets have been blasting Fisher with accusations of misogyny and rape denialism using this investigation. The Boston Globe has quoted Fisher in an email saying, quote, "Some in the media seem to enjoy trying to make big issues from out-of-context quotes and wielding them to try to destroy their political adversaries rather than shining light on the underlying tough issues that people face." End quote. The Boston Globe's following sentence? Well, they attributed an out-of-context quote not made by Fisher and wielded it to destroy him. They say that those underlying tough issues focus on the risk of being accused of rape in consensual sexual encounters, according to the men who post on the forum attributed to Fisher. Posts attributed to Fisher include calling feminism a sexual strategy, saying that women aren't good for stimulating conversation, and a rape comment from 2008, quote, "I'm going to say it, rape isn't an absolute bad, because the rapist, I think, probably likes it a lot. I think he'd say it's quite good, really," end quote. Oh, so edgy. Many comments like this seem to be more provocative, looking at unsettling truths or thought experiments, rather than advocacy or encouragement of certain behaviors and beliefs. But many are still clutching their pearls. The Boston Globe quotes Jennifer Horn, a former chairwoman of the New Hampshire Republican Party, who wants Fisher to step down. She says, quote, "He tried to make himself the victim of this in some way. This is not a free speech issue. This is not a partisan issue. This is not an issue about fairness for men. It is completely an issue about violence against women."
In an effort to name and shame those who donated.
Her?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, sorry. Who donated to Donald Trump's successful 2016 presidential bid, butthurt regressives created a Twitter bot that does nothing but tweet out the names, locations, occupations, and amount donated of the donors. Digging through the bot's history yields one very interesting result from late November of 2016. On October 4th, $400 was donated to Trump by Southern California resident Wally Sarkeesian. Why does that sound familiar? That last name might sound familiar if you've been following the consumer revolt known as Gamergate for any amount of time. But could this Wally Sarkeesian really be a relative of the infamous Anita Sarkeesian? Sources have confirmed that not only is Wally related to Anita, but that he is in fact her father. It turns out that Anita's father, Varkas Wally Sarkeesian, has a rather large online presence, including active Twitter and Facebook accounts, as well as his own website in, oh my god, I am the worst tonight, in which he decries Turkey's current president and raises awareness of the Armenian genocide. It came as a surprise and a source of mild amusement to many to find out that Anita's father holds views that seem to fly in the face of Anita's own. As of right now, Anita has yet to comment on the situation.
This is not the Holy Grail moment. I just thought it was funny because it's.
Oh yeah.
It's one of those, like, people often joke about feminists and social justice warriors being people that have daddy issues, and it's thrown around like the political lesbianism thing. Like, before I was even involved with any of this stuff. When I would hear people complain about feminists, you would hear the same stuff. Ugly, overweight lesbians who can't find a man and are, have daddy issues or something. And I try today not to go that route, not to misrepresent or strawman feminists. Instead, I only try to look at their arguments, period, right? But when I see something that is just so much providence in it, where I'm just like, wow, that is interesting. I find it kind of fascinating that that's the case. So in Anita's case, it doesn't make her arguments better because they're still awful. It doesn't make them worse, but it does sort of shine a light on some things about her to some degree. I mean, like, I just get, oh, well, that's kind of interesting that her father and her apparently do not share the same views. I wonder if that's where her worldview comes from, or if it was formed in university and they are really, really estranged now. I have no idea. Because, I mean, I would assume that could be another part of it. Or maybe Anita doesn't give a shit about any of that feminist stuff because she's trying to make a buck. And she's going with whatever works, because there's a lot of people who have made the claim that Anita is not really a feminist. She's just somebody who's using feminism to make money.
I'll take that option. I like that one.
Yeah.
That's the one that I like.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, nobody really, the thing is, as to Mike's point, she is she's fading from relevance now. I think she made another video or something. Nobody cares. We're done, like, talking about and responding to her shit. Her arguments are bad. People want to move on to other things. She's not getting funding anymore. She's basically just like, this will probably be the last story we do on Anita, unless we find out that she was in the last Antifa protest or some shit. But like, that'll be the end of it. Like, there's really nothing else to say about. I didn't even expect this to be.
He's going to be at VidCon this year.
New Zealand study examines children in different play environments. What are the potential outcomes of children's freedom to engage in rough and tumble play? A study conducted in New Zealand following 16 schools, 8 control and 8 intervention schools, sought to better understand how playgrounds influence interactions between children. The intervention was altering the school's playgrounds for increased opportunities for risk and challenge, reduced rules, and added loose parts, such as tires, for example. Bullying questionnaires were conducted at baseline 1 and 2 years by 840 children, 635 parents, and 90 teachers. The results from these questionnaires showed that children reported higher odds of being happy at school with the intervention playgrounds. Those are the ones that allow for more risk-taking behavior. The study also reported that increasing risk and challenge to encourage more imaginative and risky play had little effect on how children interacted with one another, with one interesting note. Intervention children were significantly less likely to inform their teachers or other sort of guardian figures that someone had tried to hurt them. The study concludes that although intervention children reported greater pushing and shoving at school, the teaching staff felt that this increased contact translated into greater resilience in the children, as indicated by significantly lower reporting of bullying to them. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up, unless someone has any final thoughts on this story.
I just want to say this was the best show ever. It was huge. It was great, and everybody should thumbs up it, like it, share it on social media with your friends and your family. It'll be huge.
And be sure to hit that notification button.
Don't forget to hit the little bell button. You got to make sure you hear us every week right here, because it's great.
You got to do that,
love it,
man, because otherwise, have you heard about the Gulag Archipelago? We're going to go ahead and get out of here now. Thank you, panelists, Max, Mike, Scott, Hannah, and for the people who helped out with the write-ups, Mike, Max again, and my stapler, Miss Camlo Martinez. And thank you guys. Shut up. Thank you guys for coming and watching us today. And we will see you guys on the next Polecat. And be sure to follow this very important piece of advice. If you're going to protest, get out of the freeway.